What's good, guys? It's Nick. Just wanted to pop in here quick, kind of make a shorter video. I know I always say that, but it's actually going to be. Just wanted to highlight a few things that I saw today, kind of explain what volatility could have came from, what to look for going into the rest of the week, and just kind of give some more light to the sentiment and key things that I'm looking at. So I like to start, as always, on the macro. Just give you a perspective of where these lines come from, like this 1884. I did kind of pull this one down to show you more of a micro look on some very key lines that we got to break through before we consider 20s, 30s, and beyond. So again, just want to give some perspective on where these lines are coming from. Dates all the way back to 2013. But before I get going, just like to say, not a licensed financial advisor. Nothing I say is financial advice, just more so opinion from time on the desk, as I do hold my Series 7, 63, and SIE. Just no longer sponsored by a firm, so take everything I say with a grain of salt, and invest for you and you alone. So kind of break this down. This is just a weekly chart as of right now, so just each candle represents a week. Kind of show you a little bit more zoomed in picture, then we'll go to the daily real quick, and kind of do a chain analysis as well. So big move today, 13.31%. I think intraday we were pushing somewhere towards 17%. I can't remember exactly what the high was, but we did test up at this key line that I mentioned both today on Twits and in previous videos. So I just like to kind of break this down, show you what the lines mean to me, what we're testing, and kind of what this could resemble. So as we get into it here, I'll kind of zoom in, show you what these mean, just kind of have my harmonic uptrends along with my harmonic downtrends. This is more so just to mirror kind of how algos would work, how they're kind of programmed to operate, while also giving you your horizontal macro trends. So these are obviously going to be a little bit more respected in regards to strong resistance or support, and these harmonic trends are more so just to give you projections. So you can see kind of how they've been respecting this to a great degree. The uptrend volatility, the downtrend kind of retesting this upper trend line way off of pre-January run, and where these come from. And then you got your different levels within. These are different trading ranges that I like to consider when I mention that. So what I really like here, and then I'll get into it here shortly, but on the weekly, we got a test of this 1450-ish line. We got one test, second test, broke through it, tested that macro harmonic downtrend, came back down. And then, so here's 1, 2, and then this is our third test of this macro trend line. These are weekly candles, so obviously when you get into the dailies, there might be more comprised within there. But just like to kind of highlight that, where things are currently standing in regards to it. So let me get in here on the daily candles, give some more clarity in regards to that and how important this move was today. So a few things to highlight before we get into the kind of the daily that I'll show you here shortly, is your OBV. This has kind of been something that I've been stressing on from the beginning, like the importance of it, what you can kind of gauge from it, and things we're going to be looking at going forward. So we've had upticks in OBV, like right here, where we popped up to the 1630, 1640-ish range, and it came back down and kind of got this stretching movement. Obviously, we kind of just traded sideways within, but I really like to see this uptick in OBV on the daily even, just to show that one, your RSI is rising, and two, the on-bounce volume is increasing, and you're also breaking your 50 EMA here. So I think this is incredibly important to kind of highlight, because we actually closed above it, to be honest. And I know this is on the daily. 50 EMAs, obviously they play a factor, but it is something to highlight because we've broken above it before and gotten pushed down underneath a macro trend. The difference here, and I'll get into it when we get more micro, is we broke a macro trend earlier, And then what happened is we kind of claimed this as support. Hopefully tomorrow that solidifies it as well. But we went up and tested the 50 EMA. We did break it and we held up there. We came down underneath 14 for a little bit, but then obviously closed at 14.13 with some aggressive pushes there towards the end to show that the demand was still there. So just to kind of highlight that some more in regards to the movements here, and there's a few things I want to show here that I'll get into on the 4-hour, but just for perspective purposes, RSI is a big one on the daily. Obviously, people think we're very overbought. We need a cool off, which I do agree to a degree. But if you look here, pre-June run, RSI 0.63. So essentially, RSI within this, I guess that's going off of the volume on the side here, but you can see the ranges that it was in. It came all the way down here prior to the June run. This is exactly where it came down to almost on our RSI over there on the right side. Came back up, had this big push above. This could arguably be something here. I know I've mentioned before that it's the 34 push. I know that's an extreme kind of tape stretch to compare this here to this here. But if you draw support lines, resistances, I want to keep this short like I said. You can kind of see the similarities and the fact that we actually are where we were RSI wise in comparison to the June run. So we do still have plenty of room to go in regards to possibilities for the upside. So now that we've kind of carried over on that, the 180-day 4-hour is something that I really want to bring some light to quick, because there is a lot of similarities here that we can kind of pick up off of from the previous 34 run. So if you watch my last video, you'll kind of gain the context a little bit more here, but just for purposes of length, I want to keep this relatively short. I know there's kind of a lot of lines going on here, but if you zoom in here, the similarities that I was talking about today in regards to where we're currently at, were more so in regards to this kind of movement leading up into the 34 run and the movement before it. So obviously you kind of get your W shape here, and then your deep exaggerated M with a little flare off at the end. This is kind of your W shape, and then this, it appears basically that they kind of flipped this M upside down in this range here. So we kind of got our deeper low here on the right side of the M, but with the M flipped or inversed, you got your deeper side here, and then this is kind of your top end of it. So it's just showing basically the equivalent of this, if that's how you want to look into it here. So the similarities that I'm seeing is it kind of forms this W shape, gives a nice little cup here, and obviously dips back down, but you see how these two sides like really mirror each other in regards to movement. I think the algo is getting to a point to where it's kind of just starting to coil up. Like obviously broad markets affecting it, and they've used that strategically within there, but it's kind of gotten to a point so once it's completed this, we get our coil down with this kind of flare push that I mentioned, and then we come deep off of it to get the push up. And then basically this part here was all stretched due to quad witching day, an equity leap expiration. I think they really saved themselves some time, kind of keeping it within this 1150 to about 13-ish trading range there for a while. They're really just trying to bore us out. But what happened here was when we got our, here's your yellow line, your 50 EMA. When we got this crossover with the ESD band in between, this dotted line here, which I'll zoom into shortly, we exploded to the upside. We got our break through the vibration zone, that 1290 to 1320, and we broke a major descending harmonic projection. So when that took place, it was kind of a perfect storm in regards to that lid lift that I mentioned that we would be seeing. And we got a good chunk of it today, and I was very impressed with the sustainability of it. But I love to see the fact that we broke a macro trend to start, went up, tested another channel, came down, caught a support, and kind of consolidated here, and then rose back into close to give us a strong, healthy close on the 4 hour. The difference over here is this is the last time this happened, like significantly, and I can argue this movement here. But rather than getting stopped up at a support, or sorry, a resistance line and a descending projection here, we actually broke the descending line first and then tested, which is much more healthy. Like something on here is the break over actually sent us through the macro line, came down and consolidated, and then we went up and broke through a resistance line. So that's what I'm really kind of gauging here, is that we came up, didn't even test this line to be honest on this run, came back down, kind of rode the macro descending line of support, curled under the 50 EMA here, and then just built up even more pressure to get a break of this 1630, 1640 mark that I've been referencing a lot, and that just really sent us into the next trading range. Again, broke the descending line first, and then the horizontal up to the next trading range. So what I'm excited about here is that we broke this, tested. I think we could consolidate, potentially even trade down, and we could retest that 1330 mark, 1320 mark potentially if broad market is not cooperating. But I'll kind of get into that here shortly and what my thoughts are, because we did kind of get a little bit of a retrace. Got a close around 1580, came down the next day and retested that descending line. So I don't think we need to be near as exaggerated as that, because we kind of broke it with much more of a significant upthrust. So basically I'm kind of gauging a similar movement to right here. What I would like to see, and I'll zoom in here, is a continuation of this volume. What we kind of saw leading up to this is they sucked the volume dry. OBV was honestly pretty low. Like most of the AMC holders didn't forecast a move coming. They had RSI bottomed out. And then you kind of get this ramp or harmonic volume stepping in before you finally catch your big movements. And that's kind of been the case before every kind of significant move, is you get a bit of a ramp like that harmonic volume going up, and then your significant moves start. Well, this one, they sucked the volume dry for like 3 weeks basically. So to see the continuation in volume, especially after that addition to IWV, is extremely bullish in my opinion. It shows that the demand is rising. Clearly OBV is reaching some peaks that it hit off the 34 run on the 4 hour, which just is remarkable to me. So in my opinion, I think this continuation will come the rest of this week. I just want to give you guys some perspective on things I'm looking at and what could occur within that time frame, because it is important to know where some key resistances are. I'm just going to throw on the SMA real quick, the 200. I know I don't have that on here. So just to paint more of a picture for you guys, because I think this is an important line to look at. I use the 200 SMA and the 50 EMA. Basically the only moving averages I use. But I know that a lot of traders use different ones here. So I just want to kind of highlight what's going on here and how this could play a factor in the days to come. So if we zoom in just a little bit, oops, didn't want to do that much. You'll notice here that previously we rejected off the 200 SMA right here. We came up, tested, broke that descending line, but got rejected off the horizontal, came down. We did test this partially, and then they just kind of slipped us out. Once they slipped us out, markets were in a downtrend as well, like a major downtrend. They just kind of used it to their favor and just stair-stepped us down until we caught kind of this quote-unquote golden pocket or vibration zone. I know it may not be a necessarily true golden pocket, but that's just the reference in regards to that. So the fact that we kind of fell beneath, caught some uptrends, and came back above the standard deviation line. Um, the main significance here is your 50 EMA and your 200 SMA. So we haven't had a cross of the 200 EMA, or sorry, 200 SMA and the 50 EMA since before the 34 run. And we are extremely close to this right now. So here's your 200 SMA coming down, kind of tested a couple times, and we finally broke through it and stayed well above it, while also having that 50 EMA begin to curl up. So what's nice is that here's your ESD band, your ESD line, crossing over the 50 EMA to the upside, which is kind of what gave us this big bullish movement along with the macro breaks. But now what's curling is this 50 EMA, and the 200 isn't going to be near as exaggerated because the 50 is going to catch more micro movements. So what I'm looking for is here's kind of part 2 of 3 confirmations on the 4 hour. I like to give it at least a day or so to kind of confirm this. So it's not something like this where you come up and then come back down and then fall off. Here, I would love to see a continuation of this curling up. So in the morning tomorrow, as long as broad market holds, I am expecting them to probably off of open, pre-market open. I could see them trying to knife this down as far as they can, maybe 1350 range, 1380 range. We'll see what markets want to do in the morning. But another thing, to be honest, and I don't want to get my hopes up too much right now, is we could start seeing those pre-market moves to where it kind of gives us the push up, like initial gap down, but then around 9 o'clock, 9:30 Eastern, right before bell open, you'll see our kind of push ups. Well, if the broad market holds, there's a couple scenarios here. I think if broad market holds, we could kind of just get pushed down regardless to about 1370 mark. Just the initial kind of push down before the wick kind of starts up, something similar like this. So market holds 1370-ish open, and then we'll come up and test this 1430 mark pretty early, and then consolidate, maybe bounce off, and then come up and trade in between this range, so like 1437-ish to 1450. This is going to be another extremely big break, because what's going to happen is if we hold this uptrend up here, the 50 EMA should basically be curling through this 200 SMA at that point, to where we could consolidate and close right in here, or maybe right above here, if it just kind of trades sideways, because we do need some consolidation. We need RSI to cool off a little bit on the 4 hour, like it is a bit overextended. So I'm hoping that if broad market holds, we'll get about I don't even know, 5 to 10% day, if possible. That'll put us right about 1460 or above, which is very, very likely. But let's say bearish case scenario, broad market opens up, news comes out, and they try to flush the SPY out down to like a 372-ish, 375-ish range. This is just an example, so don't feed into that too much. But if that's the case, bearish case scenario is I could see them potentially trying to slip this hard all the way down to 1320. That's about a, oh my gosh, 9% down day to start. So 10%, when people say we have to like retest the 1290, I hope they understand that that's over like a 10% red day, which is possible, but I don't forecast it. I don't think that's possible. I think we could have some retracement, yes, to make this movement continuation be healthy. But if it mirrors that pre-run up to 34, I think we retrace down to 1320 to 1350 range. But I'm really thinking we're going to catch kind of this support right here around 1370. If you look to the left, it's just kind of been a micro support in the recent past. And then we'll continue this uptrend, kind of trading into this this triangle here, this little wedge type movement. So If that occurs and we do retest down here, we'll probably close maybe a little bit in the red or slightly green. Or we could even close down in the 1350 range. Like I said, I don't forecast this. This is about a, I don't know, 10 to 20% chance of happening. With that 200 SMA kind of getting below us now, it gives us a very strong support line here to where I don't see this coming back down. But bullish case scenario is we kind of go up, retest this 1450 line again, break it. When that does break, it will push us towards about $15 roughly, up towards 1540, 1550. So that's a very strong possibility for tomorrow. Later in the day, if not the following day, if tomorrow gives us consolidation. But in the next coming days, about 1 to 5 sessions, I do fully see us testing this 1630 mark again, as long as broad market holds. We'll test this 1640 mark and move our way up into different bigger channels and start getting extremely volatile. So that's kind of what I'm looking at. Don't want to spend a ton of time. Just want to drop some TA and give some light to movements and key figures here. So appreciate you joining. Leave a like, comment, subscribe. Join us in the Discord. The guys and I, even girls. I know there's a couple traders within there that just kind of like to learn, absorb, have fun with the day, and just grow with one another. So I'll leave the link in the description. Catch me on Twitter as well. I like to keep most things updated through there. And I'm hoping to start dabbling into Twitch and getting some more services out there to you guys so that we can kind of grow the knowledge, understanding, and just make retail a stronger force. So catch you in the morning. Have a great night, guys. Thanks for watching.